Several weeks ago, I was asked by the Montgomery County Commission on Women to put together a new task force to recommend what more we could do to combat human trafficking in Montgomery County. We already have an aggressive law enforcement effort in Montgomery County, and for some time, as members of our vice and intelligence units in Montgomery County, there have been investigated cases of human trafficking. In one of the latest cases, our police department, working with federal authorities, won a conviction in federal court. The man convicted of interstate transportation for prostitution will be sentenced in July. But the nature of the crime keeps changing, and so we must change and adopt as well. The latest version of prostitution in the county is called acupressure. Acupressure. Our police department has made several arrests over the last couple of years of people using acupressure as a front for prostitution. We've already arrested one woman several times for using women from China as prostitutes for her acupuncture business. The victims in these cases are young women who are forced into lives that they didn't choose and have no way of escaping. To help them and to make certain we are keeping up the crime, the task force will be announced that we're announcing today will provide recommendations for new legislation, new enforcement techniques, as well as for new awareness and prevention campaigns. I am pleased that the person who would agree to chair this task force is Bobbe Mintz. She has agreed to provide her leadership to this task. Bobbe is a member of the Commission for Women. She retired from a federal legal career with the federal government as an administrative judge with the U.S. Merit System Protection Office, where she decided cases involving employment, discrimination, and labor issues. The task force will also have representatives of my office, the County Council, Commission of Women, law enforcement agencies, and the Department of Health and Human Services, and permitting services. In addition, there will be representatives of nonprofit agencies working with us as well. The collective wisdom of all of these fine people and organizations should help us crack down on one of the most difficult crimes in our midst.
Courtney's House is the only survivor-run organization in the area that works with survivors 12 to 21 U.S. citizens of D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. When I say that I'm a survivor of child sex trafficking, at 13 years old, I met a man who was 15 years older than me, although I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. And when I met this person, I was adopted at the age of 12. So my parents put me in school at Montessori, put me in speech therapy for 4 years. So although I was adopted to a wonderful family, it's really more about a man who comes into you and manipulates you, who I thought was a friend. Before a boyfriend, a friend. Someone I trusted, someone who told me that he went through the same experiences that I did, that he was adopted, and his parents gave him back. Although that was not true, at 13, I believed that. My trafficking situation lasts for many years. Although my parents were really good, I was afraid to call them. He threatened my family. He said that he would kill them if I did, and I believed that. When I ran for help, police arrested and charged me and put me in juvenile detention when I was 15 years old. It's good to see that so many things have changed and that Montgomery County Police have really been involved in working on the bigger cases right here in our own county. When I say our own county, I am a resident of Montgomery County. And many of our survivors at Courtney's House actually come from Montgomery County, the Gaithersburg, the Rockville, and Germantown area. When we hear trafficking, we think that it has to happen overseas. But we're able to provide the direct services to boys and girls because when they hear my story, they tell me, how did you know that this happened to me? How do you know my story? It's sad that what happened to me many years ago is still happening the same exact way. Currently, Courtney House serves over 56 survivors, both male and female. But right here in our county, 44% of those referrals actually did come from parents. So the popular misconception is that parents are not involved in these children's lives. My parents were involved in my life, but it has way more to do with someone manipulating a child. So online, they can manipulate. At the malls where we do outreach in Montgomery Mall, which is a high trafficking area in our own county. So when we're separating trafficking out, saying that it happens overseas, these parents are not getting the resources they deserve and need while they're looking for their children. No, they don't always know it's trafficking. but services are long-term. So in our collaboration with working with the police for many years, and so happy that finally a task force has started so that we can collaboratively work together. Because after all, aren't traffickers working together? That's why this task force will be able to work together on policy, direct services, and prosecution, so we can have the stronger times in jail that they deserve, and survivors can have the healing process that I did not have. So everything we do at Courtney's house is based off of my life. So I wasn't able to have any of the services that we provide because they weren't simply out there, and we arrested children. So here in this county, I'm proud to be proud of the task force, where we see them as victims and not perpetrators.
Let me just tell you that before I actually joined elected office, my first appointment here in Montgomery County was to the Victim Services Advisory Board by then County Executive Leggett. And one of the things I learned was not just about the challenges that we face hearing about domestic violence, but also the prevalence and something that's very well hidden about the continued prostitution and, unfortunately, the taking advantage of young women. As the father of two young girls, 11 and 8, it's something that hits home with you every single time you hear these stories about young teenagers that are taken advantage of. And I'm looking over at a person who guided me in my service over at the Victim Services Advisory Board. It truly is something that this county has seen as a priority for a long time, but I think that, as Tina said, we have to continue to evolve. I'm so happy that my members of the County Council are in full support. Today with me are Councilmember Nancy Florine and Councilmember Cherie Branson, but all of us, every single one of us on the council, remain committed to make sure that we are giving the resources necessary to both the county executive and to this task force to make sure that they're able to do all that they can to curb this issue. I think that, again, for the district council member representing the areas of Gaithersburg, where you see a lot of the prevalence, as well as Germantown, Montgomery Village. All of those are in my district. I am committed to working with law enforcement as well as the task force to support any measures, both from a legislative fix as well as from financial support, to making sure that we are doing all we can to curb this continued problem. So thank you very much to all of the folks that are involved, and we look forward to having some great results.
Human trafficking is the third largest criminal activity in the world. Only illegal gun sales and illegal drug trafficking rank higher. It's estimated that up to 800,000 people are enslaved and trafficked throughout the world every year. A 14-year-old girl is brought here from Nigeria. She is made to cook, clean, and take care of 6 children for a family that brought her to the United States. For 5 years, she receives no pay for her work and is repeatedly raped. Another 14-year-old girl is brought here from Cameroon using a false passport. She's forced to work as a maid and a nanny for the family that brought her here. She's not compensated. She is forbidden to leave the residence. She's not allowed to attend school. And after 2 years of physical abuse, she flees. This case comes to our attention because the family has the audacity to report her as a runaway. And as it's investigated as a runaway case on our part, we find that she's never attended school, she has no outdoor clothes, and in fact owns no shoes. These are 2 examples of human trafficking. They both occurred in Montgomery County. As our awareness of this despicable crime is heightened, we're discovering more cases tied to human trafficking. Some of them come to our attention in response to domestic disturbances, to runaway investigations. Others we uncover during prostitution arrests. And while the victims of human trafficking are found throughout different ways, one thing remains constant with human trafficking. It is a heinous crime rooted in corruption and is characterized by greed, and it displays a fundamental disrespect for the human spirit. What I've learned about human trafficking is that it takes many forms. Worker exploitation, domestic servitude, sex trade, debt bondage are just a few examples. In response, the police department many years ago began training our officers how to spot trafficking cases and how to investigate them. But like many crime problems, we would never arrest our way into a solution. A more comprehensive plan is needed. And my hope is that this task force, and the right people are on this task force for this to happen, that we can address human trafficking the same way that the community addressed domestic violence 25 to 30 years ago. And that is through public education, through strengthening laws, and through rescuing victims. In 2012, my Vice and Intelligence Unit made 16 arrests for human trafficking. Last year, 11 arrests. These terrible crimes continue to exist in Montgomery County. The police department is very pleased to be a partner with the Commission for Women, and I'm confident that this task force will allow us to attack this crime from all sides and help us bring an end to this terrible, terrible crime.
6 years ago, I was assigned this position, and I was instructed by Chief Manger that this was one of his priorities, was human trafficking. I've watched my team evolve from a team that would do simple prostitution stings to a team that has learned how to dismantle entire human trafficking organizations. I'm proud of my team that we were the first to use the one-party consent law to address human trafficking. I'm proud that we were the first in the state of Maryland to use the new asset forfeiture law to seize assets from human trafficking organizations. I'm proud that we have learned how to eliminate illegal websites on the internet that promote human trafficking. And I'm also proud that we initiated the first human trafficking demand stings in the state that are now being copied throughout the country. I'm asked to speak quite a bit about human trafficking, and I often speak about the results of my unit, not necessarily the results that I've accomplished. And one of my main points is that caring about human trafficking isn't enough, that we have to address human trafficking and get results. I've evolved, like my unit, in the last 6 years to understand that enforcement isn't enough, that we have to address blind spots in human trafficking. And those blind spots is what I hope that the task force will help us address in order to eliminate human trafficking. Issues such as legislation, outreach, education, and awareness. In this way, we not only demonstrate that we care, but we also care enough to get results.
Children online are being solicited to meet people they don't know at the mall who they think they know. My children grew up here in Montgomery County in the 90s. They had 5 friends, period. My grandchildren have 5,000 friends, and we need to be careful with that. The Montgomery County Commission would like to thank you, Mr. Leggett.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has been wonderful of you to establish this important task force. As members of this task force, we will work to increase our understanding and the public's to shine a light on the issue here in Montgomery County. It's hard to believe for all of us that we have it here in Montgomery County, but as you've heard from my colleagues, we do. And develop interagency coordination of strategies for response and prevention. As others have already indicated, we hope that by bringing together representatives of all agencies and organizations involved in addressing this crime, the task force members will develop strategies to eliminate or at least reduce human trafficking through education, awareness, prevention, legislation, and enforcement. Increase the identification and prosecution of all parties supporting the organized crime of human trafficking to include traffickers, suppliers, transporters, advertisers, and consumers, the people who use the services of these young boys and girls. Improve identification of and services to the victims. We have to first determine the incidence of human trafficking within our borders and study the breadth of the crime, both for sex trafficking and for labor trafficking, and for trafficking from these girls for love, to develop recommendations for policy, legislation, service provision, and increase public awareness. More importantly, the Human Trafficking Task Force will develop more coordinated anti-trafficking strategies between related departments and agencies, both within government and with the private sector, through protocol development, community outreach, training, and information sharing. One of the most important steps we can take to eliminate human trafficking and to help its victims is to shine a bright light on this shadowy crime, bring it out into the open, take off our protective cultural lenses, and face what is really happening. There is a great denial that we have human trafficking here in Montgomery County. Thank you. As chair, I look forward to working with the superb group of dedicated individuals who are appointed to this task force. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much to everybody. We are really heartened by what Montgomery County has done, both in the past and presently creating this new task force, especially the work of Senator Forehand. So the Samaritan Women is going to be the victim services provider on this task force, and we are really encouraged by that because not only does this task force send a message to traffickers that their actions are unacceptable in Montgomery County, it also sends a message to survivors who maybe haven't been rescued yet or don't have the vocabulary to say, I am a survivor of trafficking. We will be able to say, we encourage you by taking action to raise awareness in the community, to prevent victimization of youth, and to take tangible actions towards ending human trafficking in Montgomery County and of Montgomery County residents.
This is really a major, major issue. And I'm on the Maryland Tourism Board, and the last meeting I took the opportunity of giving them a lesson about human trafficking, and some of them were not aware of this. And they said, well, they'd heard about it, but they knew it wasn't happening at their place. And so I gave them the names of some people and encouraged them to reach out and be extra careful and train their people to look out for this. But I think that there was one issue that I think we still need to work on, and that is to raise the age of a felony. From right now, it's if the police get someone with a girl under 18, it's a felony. Anything over that's a misdemeanor. And so I think, we've tried on several occasions to raise it to under 21. And, it passed the Senate unanimously and went to the House Judiciary Committee, where it still lies in state. But anyway, I just really, I'm so glad that you've got this press conference. I hope the public begins to know and understand more about what's going on. And the Samaritan Women had some of the members of the Women's Caucus over there to see their place in Baltimore. And I think we need a place like that here in Montgomery County.